Well, blessed Thursday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And yesterday we went through the 144,000 listed in the first part of Revelation 7. And the big debate is whether that is specifically Israel or is it a representation of a perfect number of chosen coming in from all nations. And the reason I mention that is because it seems a little odd, I would say. Let's compare it to the United States, that we have a perfect proportion of all 50 states coming in to represent a perfect America. We don't have a disproportionality of the different sizes of each of the tribes. There is kind of a representation type of thing presented here, 12 by 12 by 12, the 144,000. And the reason I mention that is because the second half of the part of Revelation 17 has a multitude, and not just from Israel, from all tribes, which of course is the message of the gospel. Maybe one is the perfect amount of those before Jesus Christ, the other afterwards. There's a lot of speculation, or maybe there are two representations of the same group of people. One with a very high but very specific number of perfection, and while another one is a great multitude that we can't even count. Let's read the second section of Revelation 7. It says, "After this I looked, and there was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, from all tribes and people and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, robed in white, with palm branches in their hands. And they cried out in a loud voice, saying, 'Salvation belongs to our God, who is seated on the throne, and to the Lamb who was slain.'" Now, just as an aside, you probably recognize once again those words. We sing them typically in our hymn of praises, various different varieties that we have. And so they are before the Lamb, waving their palm branches. And all the angels stood around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures. And they all fell their faces before the throne and worshiped the Lamb, worshiped God, singing, "Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might to our God forever and ever. Amen." Now, let's stop a second and focus on the words that are spoken. Are they connected to the 144,000? Probably, because all it talks about is the number of people in the first group, and the other one talks about a multitude that no one counts, but stresses what they are doing. And so if they are two views of the same people, I think it would make sense the way that it's structured that way. That we just have one view as a perfect number, another view as a multitude that no one can count. The only reason I'm stressing this is because people have tried to figure this vision out for years. Let's face it, we're probably not going to get a perfect answer for any of these groups of people, whether they are the same or they are specifically different groups. What I think is most important is what they're doing. They're praising the Lamb who is on the throne. They're praising the God of all creation, of the universe. And when we say these words, sing these words in our hymn of praise, we're joining them. This is where revelation, I think, should be stressed. Revelation is not just about figuring out numbers, whether they're a perfect group of numbers like 12 by 12 by 12 or 144,000, or whether it's a multitude that cannot be counted. To some extent, that sets the scene for what is happening. They're praising God. They're singing praises to God. And with our hymnary and with our ways of singing and a hymn of praise, we're called to join them. And so we join them in singing, "Salvation belongs to our God, who is seated on the throne, and to the Lamb." Right now at Central, we're singing a hymn. Salvation belongs to our God and to Christ the Lamb forever and ever. So, I mean, we are singing these songs. We also are singing the words, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and honor and thanksgiving be to God and the Lamb forever. Amen. This is the feast of victory for our God. Now, I'm taking it aside to stress this is because a lot of times we get hung up on the details where there really shouldn't be hung up on the details. We don't know exactly who the 144,000 is and will be. One of the most interesting ones was the Jehovah's Witness who interpreted that the 144,000 were the present Jehovah's Witnesses who were getting pretty close to that number at some point. The trouble was is their evangelism became too successful and they exceeded the number and they never figured out what to do with the rest of the people who exceeded the number. And so they get caught up in the numbers. We worry about whether they're from the tribe of Judah or whether they're from all nations. And according to the gospel, at least according to Genesis chapter 1, all people, all nations are created in the image of God. And so the ending book in Revelation is about all the nations coming together in a perfect multitude that no one can count. And what are they doing? They're singing praise to God and the Lamb forever. Amen. You see, that is the thing that should animate us in the book of Revelation. This is a trip to heaven, a glimpse of heaven. Now remember, we've had these ups and downs. We had a praise section in chapter 4, and then we went down and heard about the seals in chapter 5 and 6, and now I see we're back up into heaven again. Whether these happen in order, we do not know, but what is happening is it's supposed to call us to praise, call us to sing, call us to say, Amen, to the glory of the Lamb forever. So if you have any other questions, I think, text them to me because this number it has been used in various different ways to try to find secret knowledge of who this group of people is. Maybe we're part of them, maybe we're not, but I think the overall message of this chapter is not to figure out exactly who one group or the other is. What is it to do? To lift up our hands and praise the God who is on the throne. Lift up our hands and say, thank you for salvation belongs to you. God bless you today. We trust that these continue to be words of encouragement. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. God bless.